Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Danny and I'm an educator here at Franklin Park Zoo, and today we are going on a tour of our Butterfly Hollow exhibit, which is how I like to think of a celebration of all of our local and foreign pollinators in the world. Now today our Zoo to You is brought to you by MIFA on behalf of the Youth Fund College Investing Plan, which is another way of fantastically kind of looking to the future and seeing how we can benefit our lives going forward. One way of which is by protecting local pollinators. Now today behind me you can see a couple of the 25 species you might see over the summer at Franklin Park Zoo. And as we go through, I would love to take you around to kind of get a feel of the place. Now this is a seasonal experience, therefore once I'm done talking to you about all these beautiful animals, I highly recommend coming and seeing them. We're at the height of the season, we have lots of super active animals, and it is a beautiful place to spend some time. Now, when I talk about pollinators, pollinators are pretty much any animal that help transfer pollen between plants. Now, some really beautiful classic examples of that are our butterflies, vespids like bees, and moths. But at Franklin Park Zoo, it's not just butterflies here. There are beetles, there are primates, and there are other mammals here that also act as pollinators in their local environment. Now, if you want to follow me this way, I'm going to give you a little bit of a look around. Now, as I'm walking around, you might see me kind of checking the ground a little bit, looking away. That is because butterflies, especially in the morning, will utilize a lot of warm weather to can help charge themselves to the morning, similar to how things like reptiles will sun themselves. So, as we're walking around, I'm just making sure I don't step on any sleepy butterflies around here. Now, as we're walking through, we have lots of beautiful examples kind of hanging out in the morning sunshine. And over here, you see a couple having a morning snack. Now, they will get their water and food from lots of different resources in their environment. Some of them will utilize the morning dew to get a little bit of hydration. And over here, we have some of them going after the very sugary water and snacks. We've got some butterflies. No, we definitely have some butterflies. But we have some banana and some apple, because a huge portion of their diet is essentially sugar water. That's part of the reason they act as such great pollinators. They're highly attracted to the nectar in different plants. Now, as an educator, I also love bringing up some of the grosser facts in the world, because not only are butterflies super attracted to different things like sugar, around the world they're attracted to other stuff too. So that can also be things like rotting meat, urine, and dung. However, when you're mostly looking around the United States, we see mostly butterflies and other moths that are really attracted to sweeter things. Now, if you want to follow me this way, we're going to get a closer look at some of the species that you can see around here. Right now I see we've got lots of black swallowtails, a couple monarchs, a couple viceroy butterflies, but overall throughout the season, you'll see a range of 25 different butterfly and moth species. Now hanging in front of us right now, I see a zebra swallowtail. I believe that is a viceroy in front of us instead of a monarch, and we will get to those in just a moment. And right below it, you can see a monarch hanging onto a piece of some of their host plants. Now, when I say host plants, lots of butterflies and moths are reliant on either a wide range or a very small range of different plants. They'll use those to gather their food, and they'll also use those to lay their eggs. And in cases like monarch butterflies, they're reliant on only one species called milkweed, which is part of the reason that we need to do a whole lot of work to make sure they have enough plants in their local environment that they can work with. Now, as we go through, if you have any questions about these beautiful animals as we walk along, please put those in the chat. Right now, it looks like we have another friend that needed a second to wake up a little bit. So like I said, as I were going around, I might be stopping down to try and encourage them to get up a little bit, move around. Now, as we're walking through, you will see a range of different plant species throughout here. Now, while we do have a few local species of butterflies you can find in here, like monarchs and viceroys, you also have a few others that you typically will not find in Massachusetts or New England, let alone. So, that is part of the reason you see a very wide range of species in here. Now, some of these butterflies have absolutely brilliant, bright coloration. And that's because they have two types of colors. There's pigmented color, which is why, if you're looking at this plant right here, it has green pigments. That's kind of what gives them their color. In other cases, they have structural coloration. And that's how the scales on their wings reflect light to create a color. That's something called iridescence, that if you see them shining in the light, you might see a range of different colors, almost like a prism or a rainbow. Now we're going to keep moving along because we have a couple other friends in this enclosure to come and check out. And again, if there are any questions, please just let me know. I love talking about our pollinators. They're absolutely incredible animals, but I also want to make sure you all get to learn a little bit about what you're excited about as well. All right, now we have a couple other exciting sights to see in our Butterfly Hollow, and part of my favorite is seeing where butterflies kind of come from. So as we move along down our very green path, we will get to where what I like to call our butterfly and moth nursery is. And when we have caterpillars that are either eventually going to become butterflies or moths, they will go through a metamorphosis process, which is where they essentially change their entire way of being to look like entirely different animals. So over here, you will see that final stage before caterpillars eventually become their mature selves. So over here, you'll see lots of cocoons and chrysalises developing animals. Now over here, most of the ones up top are those chrysalises that will eventually turn into butterflies. And right now, I'm not quite seeing any cocoons for our moths, but they might just be in a different developmental process right now. Now, as they get a little bit older, and you can even see some of our zookeepers working on this right now, we will eventually take them out of their nursery once their wings have fully dried and fully extended so they're able to fly. So they're ready to kind of go off into the larger world. And right now you can see some of our zookeepers trying to encourage them to come out of their nursery and step into the big adult world. In here you can see tons of different species. Like I said, overall we're going to have about 25 throughout the summer. However, right now I believe we have about 8 or 9 out currently at a mature stage. Now, down here, we have another friend that's hanging out on the ground. Let's see if they want to get up a little bit. This is one of our swallowtails. Looks like she might just be a little tired this morning, but she is showing off a couple really interesting traits that are only held by butterflies. Now, if you look at her antenna, do you see how it's very, very thin and ends in a big club at the end? That is characteristic of butterflies, whereas if you're looking at a moth, they tend to have very wide or very furry antenna. Now they also have a proboscis, which is what they have instead of a mouth, which is all curled up on her face right now. So they'll extend that like a big silly straw when they're ready to take a drink or get some food. And in this case, since hopefully I don't have anything sticky or tasty on my hands, she's just keeping it curled up. Now, so she can get on with her day, I'm going to encourage her, I guess, to fly off that way. But as you're going through, definitely keep an eye on the ground. Like I said, they're starting to wake up a little bit, not always 100% awake. Now, as we go along, I have another zoo-lebrity that I would love to introduce you to, which is one of the oldest animals at Franklin Park Zoo. Now, as we look down into our little pond here, she might be a little bit hard to see, but right in front of us, looking up, is Eve, the common cooter turtle, and she is over 50 years old, which makes her one of the oldest animals at both Franklin Park Zoo and our sister zoo, Stone Zoo. Now, the foliage around here, I'm not sure if this is super easy. There we go. So that very large turtle coming up, getting some fresh breaths of air. That is Miss Eve. So next time you're coming through and visiting Butterfly Hollow, make sure to give her a little bit of love. Now, as I said before, pollinators are absolutely essential to our lives. There's lots of food items that we would not be able to have because they're entirely reliant on a few types of pollinators. Even then, we wouldn't have this beautiful, healthy green earth without them. So, one thing that I love to encourage people to do is think about how you can help local pollinators in your backyard. Now, one thing I'm holding in this an example of what we like to call a bee hotel, because in Massachusetts we have several different species of bees that not only live in big hives like we typically think about, but also ground nesting bees or solitary bees that don't live in a huge group. And by creating a little can tube with maybe a can you used for dinner last night, rolling up some paper and using some cut chunks of bamboo, lots of animals or lots of other pollinators will use these as a little temporary home to make it a little bit easier to find a home, especially when we're starting to see some of their natural habitats get a little bit smaller. Now, other things we can do as we're walking along the rest of the path to the very end of Butterfly Hollow is think about building a pollinator garden. There are lots of local species that are super helpful for lots of local pollinators that you might not always think about planting in a garden. One really great example we can think of is, like I said, milkweed for our monarchs that have to travel massive miles throughout the year. And anything you can do to help them is an absolutely massive help. Now, before we get to the very end, I want to check in if we have any last questions. Again, my name is Danny, and I'm an educator here at Franklin Park Zoo, and we're hanging out in our beautiful Butterfly Hollow. Now, as you can see, it's getting a little bit more active here. You can see a lot more butterflies moving around. And one other super cute thing that you can check out are some of our fairy gardens. Now, as smart and silly as zookeepers can be, they're also very creative. So we have lots of little fairy houses like this that have been created by our staff at Franklin Park Zoo that are using tons of natural and also reused items. So as you can see here, we got some wood, we've got lots of moss, but I also see, I believe that is a reused drainage pipe, as well as a couple other items that we found a way to start using to reduce, reuse, and recycle. All right, now if you want to follow me, I can see that there are a whole lot of these butterflies way at the top of our enclosure. Get a little bit more of that early morning sun before they really get started on the rest of their day. Now, as we're looking around, I think it's about time for us to start moving on with our tour because we are officially at the very end. Now, I want to thank everyone that's tuning in or will eventually be watching this because this is a beautiful exhibit that will not be here for much longer. So please come in, explore this lovely area, and get to know our pollinators a little bit better. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.